Hi, Get Unstuck Nation. So today, please welcome Rachel West from Empowering Growth to Get Unstuck Radio. Rachel is a personal growth and she is also a founder of Empowering Growth as well. And she helps struggling individuals to improve their mindset, mental health to achieve the result much more higher than they are already. So thank you so much, Rachel, for joining Get Unstuck Radio today. And yeah, today we're going to speak a lot about mindset and how to be better selves. And
thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here and talk with your audience about getting unstuck with your mindset.
yeah, so before we start to getting unstuck on the mindset thing, how you started your entrepreneur journey?
It started back a few years ago. Before I started my coaching business, I jumped in and became a graphic designer agent. I opened a graphic design agency. I went to school for graphic design, thought that that was my path, and I was going to do that. So I started a graphic design business and quickly learned that as an entrepreneur, there's much more than just a graphic design. There's a lots of hats that you get to wear, becoming an entrepreneur. And that led me into NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. For those of you who aren't familiar with what that is, it's the science and study of human excellence, how you communicate with yourself and others, how you process information, and discovering how things were, how you processed and perceived things in your life growing up. So I stumbled across it. I had no idea what it was. I had never heard of it before. My business partner said it would be good for us to learn. And so I kind of got introduced to it and thought it would be good to learn for communication. I wanted to learn how people process information, how they learn so that I could write marketing messages to speak to them on a deeper level. Well, I quickly learned and discovered that I no longer wanted to have the graphic design agency and that I wanted to start coaching and helping people through their struggles. So I quickly transitioned, gave up my graphic design business, started my coaching business, and here I am.
Yeah, do you think changing the, let's say, is that also one of the career paths, let's say, something like stopping you or not to shift that from graphic design to coaching industry?
I do. I discovered that up until that point, I had just been living my life checking off the boxes that society told me, that my parents told me that I needed to be doing. So once you graduate high school, checked off that box. Then you go to college, you pick what career path you want to take. I chose graphic design. I checked off that box. And then I graduated from college, and then it's like, okay, do you want to start a business and go that path, or do you want to, get a job and climb the corporate ladder? Well, I was trying to do the climb the corporate ladder thing, but that didn't really work out for me. I was applying for all these jobs, and just out of college with an 8-month internship, a lot of people were like, oh, we're going to hire somebody who has more experience than you. And so I fell into entrepreneurship because I was struggling and I was frustrated that nobody was willing to give me a chance. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start my own business, hire myself, and do it myself. And so, yeah, it was in my NLP journey. I did a lot of self-development work that I discovered that I had just been, checking off boxes and going through life doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And I wasn't doing something that I was aligned with doing.
And how do you know that this feels right for you? This will align with what you want to do in your life? How is that looks like for you?
I feel like you just know. It's just easy and natural. And it, like, once I had that discovery that I was just going through and checking off boxes and doing what somebody else told me I should be doing, when I had that realization that that's what I was doing and that I could be using these tools I thought I was gaining for communication to help people through their struggles with their self-doubt, their negative self-talk, their limiting beliefs, it just felt right. And it was easy. And it was easy for me to switch. That's how I knew that that I was aligned with it. And that's what I wanted to be doing.
From your experience, and from my experience with this question, I discover along the way, like the more I go through life, the more I know myself better. So what do you think about that? Like, I think when we feel stuck at somewhere, or when we feel like struggling at our career path, our family life, or our personal life, there's something that we feel like in denial within ourselves. Therefore, we cannot go through the wave or go with the flow with that. So I think it's kind of like the last thing that people discover is self-awareness.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we go through these experiences to help us for our future path. And it takes those experiences to create that. So sometimes they're hard. And like you said, in the moment, we're not seeing those. We don't know about them. We haven't grown ourselves to the point where we can discover that about ourselves. And we're ever evolving. I just had a transition a few weeks ago that you just get to this point where you just feel like, I'm done. I've had enough. Something has to change. I got to do something different because this is not working. And you just make the shift. But it takes you getting to that point, to that moment of telling yourself, I'm completely done with this, to get there, in my opinion.
Yeah. And do we really have to prevent the feeling of like, I'm done with that? Or how can we cope with the way that everything feels not right now? You know what I mean? Like when we turn, like, for example, when we are interviewing here, it's still COVID over here in Thailand, and there are many factors that out of my control. And yeah, I'm a kind of person that like trying to get out of the control freak area by understand that this is what I can control, this is what I cannot. And then when the situation wise, politic wise, or the society or environment wise that I really can't hold anymore, I kind of shut down because I cannot make decision, right? So I am quite sure that many people who listening until now experience that, especially in COVID. Like they change every day the decision that how we're gonna live. So should we prevent it, or how can we cope with this type of situation?
Yeah, I think a lot of us do that. We get in this pattern or this habit of wanting to control everything around us in our environment. And it is possible to get to a point where you can cope or overcome it faster. And it's all about being aware. Being aware, a phrase I use a lot that helps me through things is that the most flexible person in the situation controls the situation. So it's not you controlling it, it's you being flexible in the situation. Because most people aren't willing to be flexible. They're just like, nah, stone cold. And so if you can be flexible and adapt to that, you're really controlling that situation.
Is this a kind of self-judgment that we judge ourselves that this should be the way that we should live, really? And how to be more flexible with that? Yeah.
I don't know that it's a self-judgment. It's more like cause and effect. So I'm at cause for this. So what that means is like, this happened because of this. So something caused this to happen. You know, somebody was speaking to me while I was riding my bike and I fell off. You know, it was their fault because they were talking to me and distracted me. So it's not taking ownership for that situation. It's, well, I wasn't paying attention that there was a rock in my path and so I hit it and therefore I fell over. So it's being aware of the situation and taking ownership of the situation and not placing blame on a person, your environment, the situation, whatever it is, it's taking ownership of it.
Mm-hmm. And how can we shift this perspective of that, okay, I am now aware that this is the cause and effect, but then how can we turn things around that this is bad, of course, but there's also a good side of it as well, that this happened?
It's focusing on the things you want. So what you feed grows, what you starve dies. So if you have a plant and you don't water it, it's going to die. If you have a plant and you water it like you're supposed to, it'll survive. Same thing for anything that you're dealing with. If you feed it, if you nurture it, it's going to keep growing. So if you have a positive mindset and you train your mind to see the good, you will continue to see the good. Most people are programmed to see the negative. It's just a habit. It's natural to them. They don't know any difference. And so when something happens, they just automatically see the negative in it. So how can we become aware of that and change that? Something that I like to assign my clients is to set a timer on your phone every hour, every 15 minutes, twice a day, whatever's most convenient for you. The more consistent, the better. So when that timer goes off, I have them take 2 minutes and write down, what thought am I having in this moment? How does this thought make me feel? And is it positive or negative? And doing that simple task every day will help you become aware of the things that you're thinking about. And if they're negative, you can start changing them to the positive. How do you do that? Because you're writing down all those thoughts and you're seeing, now you have a data, a collection, a list of all the things that you've written down. And you're seeing a pattern. Well, this is negative thought. This is a negative thought. This is a negative thought. Well, every negative has to have a positive. So what's the opposite of that? It's, oh, I don't think I can make the kind of money I want to. To, I can make the money I want to. That's the opposite. So you just train your mind to start thinking the positive way. Then you no longer have to write it down. You'll be aware of the thought. So now you're thinking, you're aware that that thought popped in your head. Oh, I can't make the kind of money I want to. Oh, that just popped into my head. Okay, it's kind of awkward at first because you're switching your brain to think differently, that it's been thinking the same way this whole time. And then once you've done that consistently, you no longer have to think about it. It just becomes automatic, where now you're thinking positive.
Wow, that's very powerful. So if anyone if anyone still listening here, give it a try and let us know. Like that's interesting. Yeah, right now. Okay, so yeah, it leads to me to think that whether the problem that occurs is really the problem or not, right? That's like, yeah, it's gonna take time for your own self. Like how do you train yourself to get confident in this shifting and maintaining it along the way?
You just do it. There's 3 stages of learning. So the first one is awkward. Anytime, like for a baby, for instance, when they're learning to walk, we all know that story. They get up, they wobble, they fall down, and they get up and they keep trying. Then they're holding on to the table and they're taking footsteps. Then they let go of the table and they walk across to the couch. So it's awkward, then it's mechanical, then it's natural. So anything that we do has to go through those 3 stages. So it's just doing, it's taking that first step, that action, and being okay that it's awkward, because it's normal for every learning experience, for every person. So you're not normal for being awkward. Everybody has to go through that awkward stage. We all had to learn how to walk. We all had to be awkward. We all had to be mechanical. Then it became natural. And now it's, 20, 30, 40, 50, however old you are, you've been walking for that long, it's natural. So if you think of it that way and just take that first step, it'll get easier.
What would be the most common limiting belief that you have encountered with your clients? This episode is sponsored by Mutita Clothing, like what I'm wearing right here. So if you are a petty sized lady who are looking for high quality apparels as well as a neat cutting and premium pattern, check it out at mutitaclothing.com so that you can be simply elegant by no time. Let's get back to the episode. Is there any?
Most common limiting belief. Well, anything that you say like, I can't, I don't think, those are most common. Some people limit themselves because of their current reality or their current belief systems. So between the ages of 0 to 7, it's where we learn in that awkward stage how to do life from our parents, our grandparents, siblings, whoever's influential to us at that time from 0 to 7. That's how we learn how to do life. We learn our beliefs, we perceive things, we form our attitude, and then we go out into the world and we do it. So now we're adults living in this world based off of what we learned at 7 and before. And that probably doesn't serve us anymore because we're not 7 anymore. We're adults. So anything that you say to yourself or someone else, or you think about it, that you can't do something or have something, is a limiting belief. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, because you limit yourself, only that.
Yeah,
then,
so it's a belief or a decision.
Mm.
You decide to do this. So I'll give an example. So when I was in kindergarten, age 5, I was told by the doctor that I had a learning disability. So I accepted that belief and I took that label, I slapped it on my back, and I carried it with me for 27 years. I thought, wow, the doctor said I have a learning disability. That has to mean I'm not as smart as everybody else. And so that became my reality. I struggled with reading, I struggled with writing, and I'm sure it flowed into many other areas of my life. And it took me starting personal development, getting a coach, getting in trainings to discover that I never had that learning disability, that it was only the way that I learn, the way that I process information. I need somebody to break it down and give me all the details. And if you don't do that, I'm lost. And so that's why they labeled me with this learning disability, because people weren't breaking it down and I didn't understand it. So therefore I was confused. Doesn't mean that I have a disability, just means they weren't explaining it to me in a way that made sense to me. So then I have this discovery, I peel off that label, I throw it in the trash, like, that's not true. And I now know I am smart. I can write, I can read. I read almost every day now, where before I never would read. I would avoid it at all costs. I'm a best-selling author. And it's like when you let go of those labels or those beliefs that you give yourself sometimes or other people give to you, and you just accept them and believe them, your possibilities will blossom when you let them go.
Wow, that's so powerful right there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, wow, that makes me chill. Yeah, I never thought it that way. Yeah, I know now. I just watched what is her name? The daughter of Jordan B. Peterson. Sorry, I just like right now it's too early for me to recall people names. And she said that Jordan taught her, she's a daughter of him. She said that Jordan taught her that don't use your medical condition to be an excuse. So that's explain a lot after I hear from you. See, things just connect in my mind right now. Like, okay, I got a eureka. That may be not true. It's about how you discover the way that this is how you just live your life at the easiest way and found the alignment within yourself. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why they say dis-ease, because it's a discomfort in your body somewhere. It's you believing that that's true. So you have that diagnosis, you have a learning disability. It's from you're 5 years old. It's from a doctor. Why would you not think that that's true? So you just accept it when you can deny it.
But because there was a cause and there was an effect or effects with it at the time that you got diagnosed, you know what I mean? Therefore, at that moment, that was the result. And you were taking ownership with that, you know?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But then there are change. There were some change that happens. So we have to evaluate the situation again, whether this is true or not. And then making decision to move forward with the new set of information, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's how we analyze the situation along the way and making individual decision of our own life, I guess. That is something no one really talks about, even parents, because they also having this same frame of thinking. I was talking to my mom the other day about how she was raising growing up and how she denied of that and raising me to make my own decision. I'm an only child, so I get everything I want, basically. But it's just like they have never forced me to do things, but I, on the other hand, force myself and like put too much pressure on me instead without them telling me to do that. So that's kind of weird, but yeah, kind of funny. And it's totally in the different position where my parents was growing up. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically with that, it's we do the best we can with the tools we have. So when we're born, the doctor doesn't say to the mom and dad, oh, here's a manual, here's how you raise your child that you just had. It's now the parents are raising this child how they learned from their parents, who learned from their parents. So it's kind of this cycle where I said in the 0 to 7 range, we see how our parents are raising us. So therefore we've learned this is how you parent. This is how you raise a child. So then when you have a child, you do the same thing. Sometimes we perceive it differently. We're like, oh, I did not like that. My parents did that. So I'm going to do the opposite. So that can happen too. We either do exactly what they do because we think that's how you do it, or we say, oh, no, I'm doing it different. And you do the opposite.
Yeah. Do you have kids, by the way?
I do. I have a 5-year-old daughter.
And how is she right now? Like, how do you like do you use this technique into the parenting along the way? Yeah, can you share that? I'm really interested to know.
Yeah, I do. So when I had her, I started my personal development and NLP journey when she was a year and a half old.
Mm.
So I was lucky to have these tools to pass on to her. So I specifically, an example I can use in how I teach her or raise her is to think positive, that she can do and be anything she wants. When we're kids, and specifically with her, she wants to be a firefighter and a police officer and a princess and an astronaut all in the same day. And then your parents say, oh, pick one. I'm like, yeah, be whatever you want to be. Keep her imagination open to the possibility that she could, if she wanted, to be all of them. And then I try to teach her, or I do teach her, that we're all different. So I'll specifically point out things like she likes to drink soda, I don't. So I'll be like, you like soda, but I like to drink water, and that's okay. Or your favorite color is blue and my favorite color is pink, and that's okay. This person might not like you, and this person will like you, and that's okay. So I teach her that, so that when she's in school around other kids, if there's somebody who doesn't like her, it doesn't affect her as much. She doesn't take it personally, because we're all different and we all have likes and dislikes. And nobody will have the same.
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, I think that's very important to anyone who so I'm not, right? That's obvious. I'm still yeah, I'm still pretty young at the age wise, but I learned a lot from asking the gays who already have family that is interested that how they pass towards their expertise to their kids, like the next generation wise, because of course we want them to grow even beyond the excellency that we discover with our expertise to help other clients, but especially when they are our blood, right? We just want them to experience the world in a bigger level. It's quite interesting and very yeah, it's awesome to see people grow along the way. When I see my friends or my friends' kids growing up and see how they raise them to compare with where they are right now and when they were younger, I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. That's how we having our life to the full potential, I guess.
Yeah, and if there's listeners that are older and you have kids that are older, there's no right or wrong to parent. It's what's right for you in the moment, and you can always change it. It's not like I have some clients who have grown adults and they're like, oh man, I messed up my kids. And it's like, no, nobody needs to be fixed. Nobody's broken. We just get to learn and evolve from where we're at now.
Yeah, like what we spoke earlier about the cause and effect and how we evaluate the situation and then make decisions further. So that's the key, that you have to aware what's going on right now and what next for you.
Yes.
So anyone, if you would like to follow or work with Rachel, where can they find you then, Rachel?
The best place to go is my website. It's empoweringgrowthcoach.com. There you can access my phone number or email. The best way for you to reach out to me. You can find all my social media links to connect with me there as well.
Cool. So yeah, if you're interested in this conversation and want to be a better communicator and understand yourself as well as helping your growth along the way. So yeah, definitely a well worth visit. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining Get Unstuck Radio today.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe here or here. And this is the previous episode. Check it out. See you next time.